Let's also stop pretending that more than a tiny fraction of those illegally crossing our border have any valid claims to asylum whatsoever. We all know it. We all know that they are coming because it's easy and because America is a pretty great place. We all know they were trained by their drug cartel handlers to repeat certain phrases that make them eligible for the asylum process so that they'll be given a bus ticket and maybe a court date, which they'll never show up for. Let's stop pretending that this isn't just a giant scam, a giant abuse of our well-meaning and generous system. And also, let's stop pretending mass migration is America's fault. Let's stop pretending to listen to outlandish claims of climate change causing migration, or the tired old refrain of, well, it's American imperialistic foreign policy or whatever, and so let's just let everybody in. And let's stop pretending that this isn't getting exceedingly dangerous for us. It's dangerous for our border agents. It's dangerous for our border communities. It's dangerous for the children being trafficked. It's dangerous for everyday Americans.
Dan Crenshaw's lies and misinformation on immigration, specifically the current crisis facing Haitian migrants, has reached a fever pitch. There are way too many lies to count, so let's dive right in. I'm Caroline Johnson. Thanks for watching. Fraudulent claims to asylum. Asylum law typically requires proving that the immigrant faces a threat of persecution back home that goes beyond just living under a bad government. The Biden administration literally characterized Haiti as a state teetering on the brink of collapse last month, so that would perhaps seem like quite an urgent issue besides just a bad government. Crenshaw's claims that Biden's strategy is too lenient flies in the face of the fact that the administration is carrying out what could be the largest mass expulsion of would-be asylum seekers in recent American history with regard to the Haitian migrants. 2.
We all know that they are coming because it's easy and because America is a pretty great place.
We don't need to look any farther than the atrocious, disgusting images out of the border this week, with Border Patrol officers whipping asylum seekers to prove that immigrating to the US is not easy. This point is also funny because later in the video, he literally says they're smuggled out on a dangerous journey that leaves them dead, stranded in the desert or Rio Grande. So by his own admittance, it's not easy. So I'm not quite sure what he's talking about here. 3. Migrants are trained by drug cartel handlers. According to a report released by the U.S. Department of State Bureau of Counterterrorism, in 2019, there was no credible evidence indicating that drug cartels have any operatives trying to infiltrate the U.S. through migration. 4. Migrants just want to take advantage of our generous system. I really have to laugh at this one. What generous system is he talking about exactly? In a global pandemic, we received $2,000 for over a year. Unemployment benefits have expired. Crenshaw himself doesn't support raising the minimum wage, which, for the record, doesn't allow you to buy a house in any state of the country and has been at a paltry $7.25 since 2009. 5. It's a myth that immigration is caused by climate change. It's hard to address this one because the proof is simply too overwhelming that climate change is one of the leading causes of mass migration. But here's an excerpt from a new study by researchers at Harvard Law School, Yale Law, and the University Network for Human Rights. I don't have time to run through all of these natural contributors to migration, but pause for a minute if you want to read the study's findings. So, Crenshaw, now that it's spelled out for you, can you still argue that none of the natural disasters like food insecurity, drought, disease susceptibility, and water scarcity don't and could not contribute in any way to any form of migration? Finally, Crenshaw says that it's dangerous work for border agents. And I'm sorry, but we cannot have a conversation about the safety of Border Patrol agents when they are inflicting violence onto other human beings daily, whether it's with their whips, through a lack of adequate shelter and food, or other violence these migrants face. Full stop. And here's a good way for border agents to be safe and quit. Like most Republicans, he's a tough one to fact check because there are honestly more lies than truths in his messaging, but someone's got to do it. Thanks so much for watching. You can follow me on all platforms at Caro Johnson 917.